Margaret Livingstone, a Harvard University experimenter, has spent her entire 40-year career tormenting animals, including by tearing baby monkeys away from their mothers and sewing their eyes shut for science. PETA explained this in their article from January 2023 titled A Century of Suffering, 10 Gruesome Experiments on Animals from the Last 100 Years. Let me reiterate what I just said. Someone from Harvard would sew monkeys' eyes shut just to see what not seeing other monkeys would do to their brain. Now, this was just for science and psychology reasons, but how many of you have used a product that says animal tested on it? Similar things are being done to those animals to see how they would react, injecting them, burning them, and then disposing of them like they were nothing. And now we are using those products since they are finally considered safe at the cost of those animals. Animal testing is inhumane and animal abuse. And today I'm going to talk about the problems with animal testing, provide solutions and substitutions for animal testing, and explain the future for banning animal testing. First, I'm going to talk about what goes on in these labs and the problem with what these companies are doing. There is much not needed animal abuse that goes into animal testing, and Katie Taylor points this out in chapter 24 of her book, Animal Experimentation, Working Towards a Paradigm Change, titled Recent Developments and Alternatives to Animal Testing. Now, she claims at least 115 million animals are thought to be used for scientific purposes every year worldwide. There are plenty of types of ways animals are tested in labs, some more extreme than others, but nonetheless cruel. Taylor, cited previously, explains a less extreme example of a type of testing, being skin absorption. Specifically, the substance is rubbed onto the shaved backs of rats, and then they are killed the next day. One of the more disturbing ones is rats or mice are fed the substance for 2 years to see if they get cancer, or pregnant female rabbits or rats are force-fed the substance and then killed along with their unborn babies. She also, right next to these, explained an alternative to doing these experiments. As a society, we must question the ethical implications of utilizing living beings for mere tools for scientific exploration. Now, most tests are subjected to rats, mice, and rabbits, but there are some other targets, like cats, dogs, and monkeys, and animals with a greater morality, like us. These creatures, no matter size or how developed their brains are, shouldn't go through unethical treatment just for science. PETA explains that workers at Liberty Research Incorporated, a laboratory in New York, drilled holes into the skulls of young beagles so that December virus could be injected directly into their brains. Most, not being under enough anesthesia, went through days of pain and suffering and strokes just to be killed at the end. This may not have been for a cosmetic or toxicity testing, but in all, they are the same. A rat or dog, the same ethics apply. Fortunately, we live in an era of scientific advancements that offer us viable alternatives to animal testing. Animals like us experience pain, fear, and distress. Subjecting them to experiments that involve toxicity testing, chemical testing, and medical research can lead to unimaginable suffering, like the beagles I just told you about. When these things can be changed, it should be, since we are now at a point of questioning our ethics and morality. The use of these animals is becoming not almost entirely unnecessary, but scientists are becoming ever more critical of its poor reliability, reproducibility, and relevance to humans. According to Kathy Archibald's 2018 article titled Animal Research is an Ethical Issue for Humans as Well as Animals. In the same article, she makes it clear that during human trials, 95% of medicines fail because they are unsafe, sometimes harming participants, or ineffective in humans, despite appearing safe and effective in animals. Many more times than not, we cannot even use the products that are tested on animals because we don't have the same composition as these animals, and they all affect us differently. Most of the tests are a waste of time, money, and lives. Now that I've exemplified the problems and ethical issues with animal testing, I will explain the multitude of alternatives to these practices. With the rapid progress in technology and science, there's a growing array of sophisticated alternatives that can replace traditional animal testing without compromising the quality of research. It is up to the companies to continue practicing with animals or switch, but the switch is not hard. It just may be time-consuming. One of the biggest examples of the change is the 3 R's principle of replacing, reducing, and refining the use of animals in experimentation. It has been embraced by government agencies, the scientific community, and animal advocates. The need to minimize animal use is codified in the text of U.S. federal regulations and guidelines that govern animal experimentation and comports with growing moral concern regarding this practice. According to Justin Goodman from the Journal of Medical Ethics, dated July 2015 article, Trends in Animal Use at U.S. Research Facilities, legislation and regulatory frameworks significantly influence scientific research, ensuring ethical animal treatment through strict regulations can reduce unnecessary animal testing. Governments and international organizations should collaborate to establish guidelines promoting alternative methods. Like I mentioned previously, there's a variety of ways that animals are tested on, including toxicity and hormonal tests. Scientific American authors James Goldman and Thomas Harding lay out some alternatives in their article, Protecting More Than Animals. They go on to explain that most analysis of hormones, such as the pregnancy test, which once involved long drawn-out methods on live animals, are now accomplished by alternative means. And several companies have now produced three-dimensional tissues that very accurately mimic the outer surface of the human eye, allowing experimenters to check not only for irritation but also for subtle structural changes. These alternatives can change the way we do science, and for the better. Referring back to testings not being accurate anymore, many scientists, including the chief scientist of the FDA, Namade Bumpus, believe that developing more in vitro systems that are based on human cells, human tissues, and human models could, in some instances, be more predictive. Rachel Newer from Nature News explains the efforts of the FDA in her 2002 article, U.S. Agency Seeks to Phase Out Animal Testing. People are taking more action, solutions are being made, and it is only so much more time so we can use these efforts to stop animal testing altogether. Additionally, increased awareness and education about the ethical implications of animal testing are crucial for fostering a more conscientious society. This promotes understanding and empathy, encouraging individuals and industries to seek alternative methods and support ethical research practices. This education should extend beyond academic institutions to policymakers, researchers, and the public. I talked about what companies can do, and the progress is growing. Now let me talk about what our future will look like without the use of animal testing. As much as it is the scientific community that needs to stop, it is us who unknowingly support it as we buy these products or use medications that have been tested on animals. The fourth R I will add is research. Replace, reduce, and refine is the part that companies need to do. But we as a society need to do the research on these products that we are using, even if that is just looking at the back of the bottle. In his 2007 article, Animal Testing, Is It Worth It?, Jeff Watts explains that Dr. Jill Langley, a scientist at the Dr. Hadwin Trust for Humane Research charity, says, if we can move the atoms on a molecule using a beam of laser light, I don't see why we can't replace animal experiments. If the full force of the world's scientific brains were turned on this problem, there could be enormous strides. These are the strides being made. There are strides being made, but it is using them that has been the problem in the scientific community. Money, as always, is the biggest problem. Funding for these new methods has been hard, and no one specifically does fund for alternatives. Yet, Newer, previously mentioned, says that a new program will be funded for $5 million US, as it has requested as part of its 2023 budget to develop a comprehensive strategy on alternative testing methods. Time is of the essence to save these poor animals, but reality hits as federal regulators have approved only a few cutting-edge methods, and such techniques will not completely replace animal testing anytime soon, but they do hold great promise. Locke says, especially if other government agencies and countries join the FDA in its efforts. Locke being an environmental health scientist and lawyer at Johns Hopkins University. This change from other countries has already started, like the UK, and will not only grow as regulations and our testings continue. More people may be hurt, more animals may be hurt if testing still continue. We are not mice, we are not rats or dogs or cats. Human beings need to be treated with safely tested treatments. Humanity has stopped looking at the safety of others for the safety of us and has caused a downfall in our health. In the recent years, advocates have been harsh in standing up for these animals. In his 2019 article, U.S. EPA to Eliminate All Animal Testing by 2035, David Grimm, a news editor for Science, states exactly what the title says. He mentions EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler that his agency will reduce its requests for and our funding of mammal studies by 30% by 2025 and eliminate all mammal study requests and funding by 2035. After that date, any studies will require administrative approval. After years of activists fighting for the stop, the time will come, just not for another decade. I've told you about the inhumane ways people test on animals and its problems with humans and animal safety, the alternatives that limit damaging innocent lives and human lives, and how many lives will be saved by banning animal testing for science purposes. Look at your pet. If you have one, your dog, your cat, or maybe even your bunny, mouse, or rat, guinea pig, or hamster. Now imagine them being forced into tests that they don't understand that harm them being killed once done. Do you want that for any animal? It is crucial for us to recognize our collective responsibility in addressing this issue. Each of us can contribute to the cause by making informed choices. Support companies that have committed to cruelty-free practices and products. Encourage the adoption of non-animal testing methods within research institutions. By using our purchasing power and advocating for change, we can influence industries to shift towards more ethical and sustainable practices. Check out these organizations and support them in their fight to end animal experimentation and testing. First, PETA, the Coalition for Consumer Information on Cosmetics, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and the Center for Alternatives to Animal Testing.